My dear, wonderful to have you with us as always. So, listen, Candace, you and I have a lot of things in common, but one thing we have in common is when the entire culture is saying one thing, like the culture might be right, sometimes it's right, but our first instinct is to say, probably wrong. They're probably totally wrong. And so I didn't even watch the Making a Murderer series. I only heard about it, but I just assumed if everybody's saying this guy is innocent, he's got to be guilty as sin. And I know you actually followed it very, very closely. And then because you're like a dog with a bone, because you refuse to let anything like this just slip through the culture, you said, no, I'm going to prove that this jerk totally did it. Is that basically how this project came about?
Listen, I don't want to give too many spoilers here, but I will say that I obviously have a fascination with the media's ability to brainwash not just the masses in general, even us. Like I did this sort of backwards examination of why I used to support the LGBTQ movement, and I only recently discovered that the entire Laramie Project thing was a lie. They,
Yeah,
they, they put
yes.
on yeah they put on a play at my school,
Yep.
convinced me that this gay kid for the simple crime of being gay was tied to a fence and killed. It was a complete lie, a
Yep.
total media agreed upon lie so that they could further their own agenda.
Yep.
And so, yes, this project, Convicting a Murderer, which stems from the Netflix series, Smash series, Making a Murderer, where everyone was kind of very anti police. This was kind of like White Lives Matter. Like before there was Black Lives Matter, there was White Lives Matter. And everyone just sort of hated the police and they wanted to believe that, this man who was at one point in his life
Mhm.
wrongly convicted of an attempted murder that he did not actually commit. It was before DNA. So they wanted to believe that maybe twice he just keeps getting himself into these circumstances. And Netflix seized on it because they knew that they could just manipulate people's emotions and make them think that a very aggressive person, his entire life story is incredibly aggressive, could potentially be an angel. So it was a fascinating story to look into.
The Laramie Project comparison is a really good one because it also lets all of us off the hook for because I've been duped by some of these things,
Mhm.
especially when I was younger. And it lets us off the hook a little bit in that I don't know what happened to Matthew Shepard. I'm just hearing about this guy on the news. I have no reason, I guess, not to think that they're broadly telling me the truth. And then, though, like in that case with the Laramie Project, you look into it and you see, oh, no, actually, the fact that he was a homosexual is really just a side part of the story.
Mhm.
There's so much more here. So why was the story pushed in the first place? It's not because the media cared about a guy like Matthew Shepard. It's because they were trying to push a broader social and cultural
That's right.
agenda. Presumably, they're doing the same thing here. I don't think they actually care about this guy Stephen Avery,
No.
but they do care about promoting crime. They do care about undermining law enforcement and law and order more broadly. So I don't want you to give away too many spoilers. The show should be a huge smash because it's giving the answer, the reality to what Netflix was promoting. But give me a little taste. Like what did you see?
Here's what I will say is don't be afraid to eat some humble pie. I think that's been one of the greatest things that I've always practiced humility. I mean, I had everything wrong.
Hmm.
If you spoke to Candace Owens when she was 18, pro-choice, liberals are good, Republicans are racist, and it's actually been such an exciting thing. Once you release that egotistical element that makes you think, "Oh, I had to have had it all right," and you actually learn the truth, it's amazing. It's actually amazing because then it allows you to further examine your psyche and how your psychology is being impacted and how the media really plays the biggest role in this, how your emotions plus the media can just completely disrupt a true analysis. And this is a circumstance where you have this man, Stephen Avery, something did actually wrongfully happen to him when he was wrongfully convicted before DNA evidence was available of a raping and leaving someone left for dead. She actually survived. She pointed him out and she said, "This guy did it." She thought it was him, really thought it was him. And
Hmm.
then they found out after 16 years that it actually wasn't him. They released him from prison. He's not out for prison long before suddenly he is being convicted of another murder. He's being accused of another murder, which was the murder again of Teresa Hallback. And this inspired, some Netflix documentary makers. And you're exactly right. You're going to see the same characters again that were pushing this idea that he was innocent. Let me say one thing: if Alec Baldwin ever tells you that somebody's innocent, they're probably not. Okay.
It's a good rule of thumb.
If
So
Alec Baldwin and Trevor Noah are getting
hmm,
behind something, you are probably taking part in a media simulation. And it's all the same usual suspects. And I think that people who follow the story closely, the tens of million people around the world, are just going to be shocked at how far the media will go to sell you an idea, how often they omit facts because they already have this packaged idea that they're trying to sell you at the end of it. And in this circumstance, it's that police are rotten, police are backwards, police are wrong, police are corrupt. And that has really kind of been a media theme for the last 10 years.
I saw even in the trailer it that the documentary left out specific crucial pieces of evidence, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's really bad. I mean, and what's I think most shocking is that the documentary makers won an Emmy for this. And it's interesting that the amount of celebrities that got involved with this, it pretty much, like I said, if Hollywood's involved, you pretty much know that you're probably being duped and you're being misled. I have a lot of questions about why Alec Baldwin is always the center of all of these things. But this became something that so many celebrities were obsessed with, and they believed that this was like the Innocence Project, one of these Innocence Project people. That and then you look into it, and you're like, this person isn't innocent at all. Why are we trying to get this person back onto the streets? But this one has been so long lasting. There's still a very dedicated Stephen Avery cult, just announcing this documentary without even saying what our intentions were, just saying we're going to re-examine it. People that are my fans have written me nasty emails of like,
Mm.
Candace, I love you, I've supported you, but this is something you don't understand. We've researched this for years, for decades. You couldn't possibly know what we know. Why are you so fearful? I haven't
Hmm.
said anything yet. You don't even know what we're going to present to you. Chill out. Maybe I'm going to come to the same conclusion as you. Well, because it's scary to have to examine the possibility that you've been duped. And that's why I say it comes with humility. It comes with, suffering from cognitive dissonance, wondering how you could have possibly been misled. And I think that if you're brave enough to go under that journey, you're going to have a really fun and interesting time looking into this docuseries.
It's a really great point because I'll even zoom it out from this case or any particular crime all the way to political philosophy, which is when you realize that maybe liberalism is kind of wrong. I remember when this happened to me in college, when I started to realize that liberalism, not just some crazy leftist, not just the most extreme kind of wokeism, but like just the liberal idea might be kind of wrong. That's extremely disorienting.
Mhm.
It's when you realize that, oh, the media often don't tell you the truth. When you realize that maybe in certain elections there have been some shenanigans and maybe it wasn't all totally pristine. When you realize that maybe the law isn't applied evenly to everybody, maybe BLM gets off the hook burning the country down for 8 months and some Midwestern granny gets thrown in the clink for January 6th, you think, wow, how much of what I've been told is not true? And it's why I have so much grace for people who maybe they start out as a leftist,
Mm.
then they become a fashionable libertarian type, then they become a more center right kind of conservative. Before you know it, they're to the right of Genghis Khan. I don't knock them for having been wrong in the first place. There's a long way to go. There are a lot of layers to peel back here to realize how much we've been told that isn't true.
You're describing me.
Right,
and,
exactly. Yeah,
and
and
I always
to
tell
some degree, me
people,
too. Yeah.
yeah, and I wrote about it in my book that I actually took a year off to suffer through real cognitive dissonance. I thought I was going crazy. I mean, it basically you wake up one day and you find out that up and down is up. It is completely mind shattering. It is something that you wonder, okay, am I insane? Are they insane? You feel weird because you've been so strong and committed in your beliefs. Like maybe you're the person that wrote on Facebook, I disown all Trump supporters. If
Yeah.
you're a Trump supporter, unfriend me. How do you go back from that? And that's humble pill that I'm talking about that you have to swallow and realize like, hey, I was duped. We're all capable of being duped. None of us are above it. I'm still capable of being duped, and I recognize that now, which is why I try to pursue all of the facts before making any of a determination, because I know that for the first part of my life, and this is in large part due, obviously, to low income family, public school system. I was totally a part. I grew up in Connecticut,
Right.
so blue, and so I really was just a victim of my surroundings, and also a victim of what I believe to be a pretty nefarious public school system and the education system, Department of Education, that is kind of rinsing us with these ideas. This is what's bad. This is what's good. You're a black girl. You're going to be a Democrat. So I don't fault myself any of that. I think I would fault myself for not having the courage to look at the other side. And then once I saw a little glimpse of the truth, if I was too scared and I shut the window on it, I would fault myself. And instead, I pursued it. And you're right, it was a journey, and I kind of was in the middle, and I was still holding on to some stuff like, oh well, maybe it's okay to be pro-choice, and maybe gay marriage is not all that bad. And now I'm like, I make you and Clarence Thomas look like libs,
Yeah, that's right.
big fat
Pretty
libs.
soon, you might go all the way, or you're going to end up a communist. You're going to go so far, you're going to come around the other way. So, what's important about this series too, I think, is it's getting into this very particular case, because we can zoom out and say, oh, what they're doing to Trump is bad, or oh, immigration policy is bad, or so, the 30,000-foot view. But lies like this in service of a political agenda, they permeate everything. They go all the way down, even to these tiny local, whoever the hell this guy is in a small little case in the middle of nowhere. That happens much more frequently. That happens every single day. So before I let you go, I'm going to try one more time to just pull out of you all the secrets of this doc. But I know you can't. I want to enjoy it. I don't want you to spoil the whole series for me. But what can I look forward to?
I'll give you all the spoilers right now. You've
Okay,
broken
good.
me down.
Right, good.
Here's what I will say. I think if we are taking a bird's eye view, it's just what you're hitting upon. The real victim in this case was Teresa Hallback. You were talking about a woman who was in her early 20s, just starting her life, who was fearful of Stephen Avery, who was found. She was found in a burn pit. She was raped. She was mutilated. She was cut up into little pieces. They had to use her bone fragments to even put together her DNA. She had a devout Catholic family who handled this with extreme grace. And because of the poisoning of the media, that family was attacked, because of people like Alec Baldwin, a mob descended online to tell them wild conspiracy theories, people that she had gone with the cows to Mexico. I mean, the conspiracy theories that people came up with because they refused to examine the facts in the case, and because a Netflix documentary had led them to believe that a man, Stephen Avery, was completely innocent, is shocking. It gets to a place of evil. And I was left really just thinking about her, and I wanted to make sure as we did this docuseries that we also told the story of the real victim in this case, because Netflix led everybody to believe that it was Stephen Avery. And that the perpetrators were the police. The victim in this case was the young woman who lost her life in one of the most horrific ways, unimaginable if you're a parent, Teresa Hallback. And taking you on that journey, there are so many plot twists. Nobody even knows anything about the Avery family. No one knows anything about Teresa Hallback's family. They were also focused on this narrow narrative, and seeing all of the facts around it, I think, is going to be mind-blowing for a lot of people. So we're really looking forward to bringing it. 10 full episodes with me featured, and tons of other people, including Stephen Avery's family. We wanted to give everybody a fair shake.
Wow. I can't wait. Is it all coming out at once, or is it going to be one of these drip, drip, drip kind of things?
Drip, drip, drip. Okay, no, first episode's free. It's going to be available on X. Everybody can watch it. We're going to do this kind of live viewing event. And then the second episode will be free on DailyWire Plus. And then I know by then you are just going to want to binge watch the rest of it, which will be available on DailyWire Plus.
You're like a drug dealer. You you give out the little taste. The first taste is free.
First taste is free.
I can't wait.
Take it home.
I can't wait. We'll see it. There'll be the live viewing that'll be for everybody, and then you come on into the inner sanctum. You get the real stuff. Candace, my dear, thank you. I look forward to seeing it.
Always an honor, Mr. Knowles.